Hi everybody and welcome to my kitchen. It's me, Manny from Manny's Made at Home, and in my channel I have to share with you simple or sometimes over the top but ton of delicious recipes to share with all your friends and family. If that sounds like a thing, make sure that you subscribe. Today I felt like having some pasta, but you know me, I like to make things difficult on myself, so we're gonna do everything from scratch. We're gonna be making some dough, we're gonna be making fillings, and we're gonna be making sauce. Today I'm gonna show you how to make a delicious spinach and ricotta ravioli. Let's look at the ingredients that we're going to need. Okay, to make raviolis, the first thing we need is some pasta. We've made pasta on the channel before. I've got a whole video about it, so if you want to check that out, make sure you click up here. But I've been making it for months now, so I've learned a couple of things along the way, which I'm going to share with you now. We're going to start simple. In a bowl, we've got our flour, and I'm going to make a bit of a hole in the center, and then I'm going to crack in 2 eggs. I also have a little bit of salt, and a teeny bit of olive oil. And then with your fork, just start mixing your eggs together, incorporating your flour slowly until it comes together to form a ball of dough. You could do this in the counter, but it just gets messy, so a bowl is just easier. And once it starts to form a bit of a shaggy dough, you're going to dump it out into your counter and knead it. It is important that we knead for at least 10 minutes. We have to build up the gluten because that's what's going to hold the pasta together as you're putting it through the roller. When you're making pasta dough, it's very important your dough isn't too wet, but it can also happen that it's too dry. And the best way to tell is while you're kneading it. Just try to, first of all, bring everything together. At the moment it looks like a mess, but it should come together. Obviously the only moisture that we're adding here is coming from the eggs themselves. So depending on your egg size, you might find that you need to add a little bit of water or not. But at the moment it's looking pretty good for me actually. If you find it sticking a bit to your counter, use a bench scraper just to help you to lift everything up. This is looking really good. We're gonna need it for 10 minutes. It's a workout, but it's worth it. Okay, we're almost done, and let me tell you, my dough feels so beautiful. It's still a little bit on the sticky side, but you can see that it's becoming nice and tacky. I picked up all of the dry flour from my counter, and even from my hands, it's all coming off. So it is perfect. It's nice and smooth, and it's very elastic. If I press it, it bounces back. It's covered up with some cling film, and you want to make sure you get as much of the air out as possible from your cling film, because that will tend to dry out your ball of dough. You don't want that. And we'll be working with it a lot, so it's important that we let it rest for at least an hour. So I'm gonna pop this in the fridge, and in the meantime I'll get working with my filling. Okay, my filling is gonna be super simple. So all I'm gonna do is grab a little bit of olive oil and put it into a frying pan. Put it on a medium heat and then go in with my spinach. The spinach will pretty much reduce to nothing, so it looks like a lot now, it won't be later. Okay, my spinach it's disappeared. I've hardly had any left, but this is enough. I'm just gonna let some of the liquid evaporate out a little bit, and then gonna put it into a bowl and just cut it up a little bit with a knife to get some other chunks. And in here I'm gonna go in with my ricotta cheese, and I'm gonna mix it all together using a fork. There's nothing strict about this particular filling. I'm not really following any recipe, so I'm gonna go in and add some Parmesan cheese because I think it would be delicious in it as well. Parmesan is low moisture also, so it will help to thicken up your filling a little bit. The Parmesan is also gonna bring a delicious nutty flavor to the filling. I can't wait. Next we have to season, but I'm gonna give it a bit of a taste first. Okay, and it's both salt and pepper. It's important you season properly because you don't want your filling to be bland. Okay, and that's perfect. We still have a bit of time on our dough, so I'm gonna go and make the sauce that we're gonna serve our ravioli with. We're gonna be making a very simple tomato sauce. So first of all, I go in with a little bit of olive oil in a pan, and then we're gonna start with basically the base of any Italian or actually Mediterranean sauce. It's sofrito. So we've got our onions, celery, and carrots. I'm gonna go in with some salt and pepper as well, and I'm gonna crush in some cloves of garlic. How fabulous is that? Give it a stir and just cook down until it gets nice and aromatic. Okay, I can smell those delicious fragrances now, and my veg is starting to get nice and soft. So I'm gonna go in with some chopped tomatoes. Give that a stir through. I'm gonna add some fresh basil leaves, and I'm gonna cover it up. Put the heat down to a simmer and let it cook for about 5 to 10 minutes. My sauce is looking a little bit dry for my liking, so I've got these really ripe tomatoes here. So I'm gonna chop them up roughly and add them in. There isn't really anything else I was gonna use these for, so this is perfect. Okay, my sauce is ready now. Look at it, it's looking fantastic and it smells so gorgeous because of that basil. Gonna turn it off and then we can start working on our dough. Okay, I've got everything set up to roll out my pasta and my dough has finished resting. So let's have a look at it. Oh, okay. It's nice and wet and a little bit sticky, so I'm gonna go in with some flour. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it into 4 and I'm gonna work with each quarter separately. So just keep the ones you're working on covered in cling film. You don't want it to dry out. Okay, so I'm just gonna flatten this down with my hand a little bit. And again, stickiness here is not your friend. So a bit of extra flour on both sides before I put it through the machine. And then going through the widest setting. It is such a beautiful dough. Fold it up and put it through one more time. After you do your second pass, you can move your pasta machine to the next setting and put it through again. And we're gonna continue doing that until we reach setting number 3, and I'll show you what the dough looks like when we're there. Okay, this is how thin my pasta sheet has gotten. I can see through it. This is perfect. I don't want to go any thinner because, you know, I want my ravioli to not fall apart when you're cooking, essentially. So I'm gonna very quickly do the same with another quarter and then we'll start filling and I'll show you how to shape them. Okay, first I'm gonna brush some of the excess flour off my pasta. And then I'm gonna go in with a tablespoon of filling per ravioli. Just gonna try to shape it a bit. Okay, let's try to be economical with our space so we get more ravioli out of this. I'm using a smaller spoon to kind of help me to shape them. So I'm just gonna do the same thing again. Just place it over here to the side. Okay, and we're just gonna continue doing that until we fill up our space. But do leave some gaps in between because we need that to seal the ravioli. Okay, they're all filled in. So now, I'm not very good at this part, but basically take your other piece of pasta and you want to lay it on top. And then go in with your finger along the middle and seal it, and then do the same in between. My dough is thick enough that it's going to stick on its own, but if yours was a bit on the drier side, you can use some water to seal it together. And then seal the other edges as well. And you can cup with your hand and actually shape your filling to make sure it's nice and compact in your ravioli. You want to get out as much air as possible. Okay, so now we're gonna cut them. I have a slight feeling that I may have overfilled these, so when we go to do the rest, we'll just reduce the amount a little bit. But I'm just gonna go through, and I wanna leave enough on the edges as well, so that we can then crimp it a little bit and help to get that sealed. So then you wanna cut right through the middle, in between them as well. And then before I tidy up the edges, I'm actually gonna crimp them with a fork to help to get that seal. The last thing I want is for these to open when they're boiling. I'm just gonna crimp them with a fork. If you had a ravioli cutter, you can use that. And then if you're really fussed, you can cut a bit of the excess to get a nice straight edge. And that's your perfect, massive ravioli. There you go. I'm just going to continue doing that until I run out of dough and filling. Okay, I finished. I don't even know how many I got, but as you can see, some of them are larger. That's when we were doing 1 tablespoon of filling, but I think half a tablespoon works a lot better. This is a much neater size and it would actually make your dough also go a longer way. I'm too excited to go and cook them and then finally put our dish together. Okay, we're ready. I'm only gonna cook about half of my raviolis right now. So I've got the pot with boiling water. I'm gonna go with some olive oil and a generous pinch of salt. And I'm gonna quickly put my ravioli in, probably about 2 at a time. And I want to stir them around so they don't stick, just gently. And I'm gonna let them cook for about 3 minutes. Okay, it's been 3 minutes now. Just gonna turn off my heat and take off my ravioli carefully. And I'm putting them into a bowl with some olive oil just so they don't stick. Just give them a bit of a toss around so they get coated with the olive oil. Let me swap out my boiling water, but I still want to reserve that. And I'm gonna bring back my sauce. Heat back on, and I'm gonna put my ravioli in there to cook for another minute or so. And just toss them around. And I'm gonna add some of the starchy water into my sauce to help make it all nice and creamy and coat the ravioli. I'm gonna let it bubble away for about 2 minutes and then we're ready to plate up. Okay, let me plate up a couple of them. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of extra sauce on top, of course. I've got some fresh basil to go on top. And of course, I need some extra Parmesan. A little bit of basil for extra garnish. And that's our beautiful homemade ravioli. It's the moment of truth. Let me give them a taste. I'm salivating and my stomach is rumbling. Let me go right in. Oh wow, it is perfect. The pasta is so nice and soft. The filling is delicious and the sauce brings everything together. I love the fresh flavors of the tomatoes. I love the fresh basil, and that last hit of Parmesan cheese is just divine. Ravioli are a labor of love, but they're absolutely delicious, and when they look this good, you know that it's totally worth it. If you enjoyed the recipe, make sure you leave me a big like and leave me a comment below what you thought of it. What is your favorite filling to have with your raviolis? Make sure to share the video with all of your friends, and if you like my Italian recipes, I have a playlist. I will link it over here. If you try this and post it on Instagram, make sure that you tag me. I would love to see it. With that, I leave you for this video, and enjoy.